Okay, everyone, give us just a couple minutes here, and then we can do a tour of the space.
That's part of my contract. I have to be goofing selfies.
We good?
That's what it is. It's my brain.
All right, I'm going to ask everybody just to be quieter for a couple of minutes. We're going to go through a couple of brief remarks. We'll do a tour. Please help yourself to some coffee and treats from the Honey Bun Bakery. I'm Angela Minicucci. I am just going to introduce this and then kick it over to the people that really matter. So to get us started, we're going to have Pastor Tom Arthur with Sycamore Creek. So please welcome him to the podium.
I want to welcome you all here today, and there's so many people I'm grateful for. Of course, the Sycamore Creek community, the folks of Asbury United Methodist Church, who we adopted and received this building, the United Methodist Church of Michigan, and RC Contractors, who's been doing all of this, and our architect Studio Intrigue, among many, many, many others. Today, we are here to announce that happening in this soon-to-be remodeled Performing Arts Center will be the seasons of Peppermint Creek Theater and Ixion Ensemble hosting their next season. And hopefully not just the next season, but many, many, many more. Here at the Performing Arts Center that we're remodeling at Sycamore Creek's new Eastwood campus. We're calling this Performing Arts Center Stage 1 at Sycamore Creek Eastwood. At Sycamore Creek, we have found that people haven't necessarily given up on God, but in many cases, they have already given up on the church. And this is in large part due to two reasons. One is because of the white church's silence on the issue of racism, and the church in general's exclusion or lack of full inclusion of LGBTQ people. We're a church that is fully engaged in anti-racism work in the Lansing region and also fully affirming of the LGBTQ community. We wanted to create a campus in this adoption of Asbury United Methodist Church where the building would then be an asset to the community. And that's where this partnership comes in with community theater groups. And all kinds of other groups, including entrepreneurs and bakers in the licensed kitchen in the basement. We hope to be a platform for artists and entrepreneurs and all people who are multiculturally curious, creative, and compassionate, so that we can keep the best of faith, the creative, the curious, the compassionate parts, and leave out all of the rest. To keep Jesus and to include justice as well. That's where in many cases it comes in an overlap with our mission as a church and the artists in our community here in Lansing. Because artists often are the prophetic voices for justice and for those who are on the edges and marginalized. I've been a huge supporter of Peppermint Creek. I've been here in Lansing for 14 years. And I've seen probably 75% of the shows that they have done. Every time I walk away thinking that what they have done is making me a better person of faith when I attend. And so it's actually on the relationship that Chad Swan-Badgerow and I have, our friendship, that first started at the Lansing Arts Council when the director pulled him aside and said, hey, you need to meet this guy who's networking around in the community. And then we went out to lunch and we just hit it off around theater. And Chad and his husband have been members of our church and partners of our church for many years now, been dear friends of ours. It's on that friendship and the trust in that friendship that this remodeling of this campus into a performing arts center has really happened. I'm so grateful for Chad for the relationship and friendship that we've had and the introductions that he has made to me in the performing arts community. The people who are behind me here today all have had some sort of relationship with us. Peppermint Creek has done plays at Sycamore Creek's other campuses, our South Lansing campus and our Potterville campus, among many other things that we've done with them. Jeff Croft of Ixion Ensemble worked on the Letter from Birmingham Jail with us. Anna Maria Horn from Hope Central Urban Arts has also worked on Letter from Birmingham Jail and performed on our stages as a gospel recording artist in many ways. And then Byron Sarge Pepper is the co-owner of Honey Bun Bakery, which is the first bakery that has been using our space in the basement, and they have been able to triple their business in the time that they've been here using this space. Now, it's our hope that the people that are standing behind me are not the only ones who will use this building, but that it will be a unique asset to the community and that there'll be a kind of synergy between arts and entrepreneurs and church all under one roof in a way that doesn't exist anywhere in Lansing, at least that I'm aware of. So I am grateful again to Chad, who is here, and I want to invite you to welcome him to the stage, or to the podium here, and all of the rest of those behind me.
Thank you so much, Tom. And thanks to all of the Peppermint Creek supporters here today who have been with our company for the past 3 decades and who have championed our mission and the theater we're producing for the community. There are a few different ways you could tell our history as a theater company. If you were my parents, Pam and Doug Badgerow, you might talk about how they were my very first set crew, all the way back for our first play, Amateurs, in 1995. Staged at the church I grew up in, all the way to our most recent musical, Daddy Longlegs, where they assisted in recreating the set in a bookstore after COVID shut it down for 3 weeks. If you were Spencer Smith, one of my best friends and greatest actors I've had the pleasure of working with, you might talk about the diversity of plays we've produced over our 28 years as a company, and the variety of themes and topics that have served our mission to address vital issues in our society, raise awareness, and encourage dialogue while entertaining. A production history which to date totals 105 productions. And if you were my husband, Matt, you might talk about having a front seat to how hard it is to run a small nonprofit theater company with the thousands of personalities that have to be juggled, the outrageous situations we find ourselves in, and the number of times I've threatened to quit, close up shop, and move to Iceland so I don't have to make any decisions. But one very important way you could describe our history, most relevant to why we're here today, is the list of locations we've performed over the 28 years. Please indulge me while I take us down a quick memory lane. My parents' back deck in Mason, Mount Hope Presbyterian Church, the MSU Gardens and Greenhouses Conservatory, Boar's Head Theater, Studio 49 at MSU, Waldemar Nature Center Barn, Hannah Community Center, Scene Metro Space, Perspective 2, Creole Gallery, the Temple Club, Riverwalk Theater, the Chrome Cat, Urban Beat, Miller Community Center, Central United Methodist Church, and just this season alone, Lansing Media Center, 3 local libraries, Gerald R. Ford Museum, Michigan Historical Center, Detroit Historical Museum, Bestsellers Books in Mason, McLaren Hospital, and the Lansing Art Gallery. So when Tom asked about a year and a half ago if we'd be interested in being part of Sycamore Creek Church's process of turning their new building into a performing arts space, I said sure, and I didn't believe him. This is informed by two truths. That Tom and I have developed a true and genuine friendship over the last 10 years, and that he has proven to be honest and invested in the community and in the arts. And that for my entire life in the arts and our itinerant history as a theater company, I have been approached by countless individuals and organizations who wanted to talk about the possibility of a performing arts space in Lansing and for Peppermint Creek to be involved. Each one has failed to come to fruition. Every single one. And though I'm one of the most optimistic people you'll probably ever meet, I run a nonprofit theater, I have to be optimistic. These conversations from people not in the business of making art has also turned me into a guarded cynic when it comes to performing space. And it's also helped show me that it has become one of my life's goals. To create a performing arts space that was accessible and welcoming to local arts groups. So, to be standing in this building this morning has melted my cynical heart. And what it means for us as a theater company and what it's showing not only me and our board, but what it's trumpeting loudly to the greater Lansing community. As I stand here next to Tom Arthur, it's a physical testament to how intentional Sycamore Creek Church is about their mission to be curious, compassionate, and creative. As I stand here next to Jeff Croft, it's proving that the Lansing theater community not only needs a steady, reliable, affordable performing arts space, but also welcomes the chance to practice working together, symbolically and physically, under one roof. And by supporting each other, we are also building a stronger future for our own organizations. And I stand here with all of you. It's an illustration that our community believes in, as we do at Peppermint Creek, that the arts can transform our community and our world. And when we work together, we can make amazing things happen. Peppermint Creek Theater Company could not be more thrilled and excited to be calling Stage 1 at Sycamore Creek Eastwood our home this coming season and hopefully for many years to come. And we are so eager to continue sharing stories with you that address vital issues in our society, raise awareness, and encourages dialogue. Thank you so much. Please welcome Ixion Theater Director Jeff Croft.
And I have to follow that. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Tom. This is, to Chad's point, pretty amazing. Chad and I have circled in orbit and in itinerant travels for more years than we really should admit. And I'm glad that you made a list because it would break my heart to think about all of the places we've performed over years as Ixion. As I know that our current director for our current production is dealing with her own trials and tribulations with being a nomad and popping up a stage in the middle of a store. This is an amazing opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to embrace our community at large in a very different way, with a location to share space with great creators, great entrepreneurs, and create a space for voices to be raised in every capacity, whether it's from entrepreneurship, whether it's from bringing in voices that we don't hear in Lansing that often and giving them a forum. At Ixion, we've always tried to make sure that we reached out and brought together a community that represents what Lansing looks like, what Lansing feels like. And it's when Tom mentions the spiritual is creative and conscious, and then I think about the fact that it's almost kismet that our current show is dealing with prisons, incarceration, and faith. It's like the new Tom was going to show up and say, hey, we should have coffee. It's humbling, it's exciting, and we can't wait to be part of all of this. And we thank our board for being willing to let us make this big, crazy leap. Sycamore Creek, Chad for making sure that we have space at the table to be able to come in and join in this. Chad's not wrong. It's tough for theaters to play well together, and we're going to make sure that we do it and we show how more people can come in and do it together. So. I have said more than enough because I am more cynical and more or less of an optimist than Chad, so it'll only get darker from there. But I do have the opportunity to welcome to this podium Anna Maria Paisley Horn.
Well, good morning. I'm Anna Maria Paisley Horn, and I am the director, owner, and operator of Hope Central Urban Arts. Yeah, thank you. No, but today is truly a moment to celebrate. As an arts organization, we've been around for 10 years, teaching the performing and technical arts in after-school programs for kids, elementary through high school. And to know that there is a space created for this next generation of creatives is absolutely wonderful. But I'm not surprised because of who's initiating this. It's Tom Arthur, you guys. And he and his wife Sarah has been doing a tremendous work here in the Lansing area. And their pursuit of justice and dignity for human beings, especially people of color, has meant a lot to me. And I am so glad that he, again, has made space for people like me to be able to come in and do what we feel and believe God has created us to do. It is absolutely wonderful to know that it's happening right here in a church, because if you know any creatives, you know we need God. We need them real close. We need them real close. And so just the marriage of the two, of arts and faith, and knowing that we have a spiritual covering and someone who's willing, and a group of people to cover us in prayer and make sure that we're doing all right, and that we are, I hate to be cliche-ish, but really just living the dream and doing what's in our heart to do. But especially to be able to create this space for kids and teenagers and youth is absolutely phenomenal. And we are excited about what's to come. Thank you. I would like to introduce to you all Byron Sarge Pepper, co-owner of Honey Bun Bakery.
So I am the odd one out here. We have massive talent and creativity here behind me in the form of many theater troupes and artists and creatives, and I'm here to take your money. I am one half of Honey Bun Bakery. My wife unfortunately could not make it today, but as she is, quote, a back-of-house gremlin, she prefers that I do this stuff anyway. And anybody that's worked in food service gets an immediate idea of who she is, why I love her, and why I married her. She is an absolutely wonderful person that is really the creative and energetic drive behind our business, and one of the reasons that we are as successful as we are. And I am honored to be able to stand in her light and be able to share that with her. So with that, I do want to say that while I cannot speak for Sycamore Creek as a church, I haven't really been to their services, I haven't participated in too much, I can tell that just by the people that associate with them, this is what I would call a true Christian church. They are for the people, they are for community, and they prefer to walk and show instead of preach and condemn. And that is, as a queer man and as a supporter of the BIPOC community and LGBTQ plus communities, it is so wonderful to see that. I turned atheist because of churches that don't do that. And to be able to be a part of something like this is well and beyond what I expected for my life. So for Tom to be able to connect and communicate with everybody here today in such a way that you only hear good things about him and everything is very much spoken for him at this point. I'm pretty sure he's blushing behind me from all of the compliments he's been getting. But truly, if it wasn't for Tom, then this would not have occurred. And I think we owe him all a great debt of gratitude for that. So, as far as Honey Bun Bakery goes, me and my wife talked about it on our first date. I had the idea for a board game cafe that I wanted to introduce, and she had an idea for a cafe space where BIPOC and LGBTQ communities could come in and socialize and be with each other without the overhang of alcohol needing to be there, or without honestly needing to be up at 9 a.m. to get a good cup of coffee, because we're late owls. We want a cup of coffee at like 2 a.m. So again, anybody who stayed up then knows exactly why that occurs. So we got together with this idea, and from a guy who moved up here in 2017 in a U-Haul with nothing to my name, to owning a very successful bakery with a wonderful wife and a place over our head, this is worlds above anywhere I expected to be at this time in my life. So I am going to bring the entrepreneur out real quick and say, make sure to grab some of the goods that we have. We have business cards there, we do custom orders, and we are trying to do a board game cafe event. We are trying to transition into the Board and Bean Cafe in order to present that space that is safe for people to come in and hang out and have fun. And we want to focus on bringing the LGBT community in. We want to focus on bringing the BIPOC community in. We want to focus on being a place that is more than just a bar. We want to be the place where people come in. We want to be the place that is a center and cornerstone of the community, and that brings events that you may not have seen before, like mega games, which is 60-person board games. Never seen that before here. We want to bring in theater communities to be able to have meetings in our space. We want to be able to link lesbian-oriented business connections. We want to be able to bring in churches to have pints with a pastor, because this gentleman goes out, has a beer, and then looks at people and says, well, sometimes I don't believe in God either. And you're not allowed to say that, Tom. You're a pastor. But that type of forwardness just brings people in. It lets you know that this church is the real deal. It lets you know that they're trying to come to you where you are and provide those services and help to help you up. Not because they want to convert you, not because they believe you need Jesus, but because it's the right thing to do. And for Tom and Sycamore Creek, they don't need to have a loud voice, because their actions echo. So I call upon Lansing today, let your actions echo.
Okay, so first and foremost, this is a press event. I do know we have a few members of the media here. If you would like to ask questions, we have got a couple minutes set aside for that. We also have a few minutes set aside for one-on-one interviews, if you'd like to do some interviews with our speakers, or any of the other community members that are here today. I'll just ask, are there any questions of our speakers before we wrap? Yes.
Sure. I'm curious about seating questions, capacity, what the business arrangement is, whatever you're able to share. Like, for instance, I assume this is going to be the space.
Yes.
What's your seating capacity?
So the question is, what's the seating capacity? What's the business arrangement? This will be the space. This will be stage one. We're not quite sure of the seating capacity yet. What we know is that we've ordered 200 chairs, and it depends on how close you put them together. They won't be like stuck to the ground. My guess is 100 to 150. That's when I've talked with Chad. He said there's not 100 to 200 seat affordable performing space for community theater groups in the Lansing region. So that's what we were aiming for. It'll easily fit 100 people, probably more if you want to make the rows a little less legroom. You asked about the business arrangement. Our emphasis really has been on affordability, and so we're trying to make this an affordable space for community theater groups. And in terms of like the details of what that will look like for each theater is something that we'll probably be working with each theater on what that can be. We're intending to have multiple revenue streams into this building besides so something that a community theater group maybe has a little bit of, but a church has a lot of, is giving. I mean, right now, a huge portion, the vast majority of our income is through people giving to what we're about. But we are intending to diversify that in terms of grants and for-profit businesses and or for-profit ventures and so on as a church. So I could imagine, Peppermint Creek has been around since '95. They're well established. They've got a great donor base and sponsorship base. And then, so what affordability means for them may be different than a theater that's trying to start tomorrow, and what is affordable. We are remodeling this space with the idea like this older building had an on-off switch for the heating. It's either on or it's off. We're turning it into zones. There'll be 14, I think, distinct zones in this space, which will make this way more affordable to heat. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest expense on our side. And we hope that whatever that works out, that we would break even in that at least. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Any other questions? I think in the fall is what we're anticipating. I'll let Tom take that.
Yeah, great. I would love to answer that question. Well, so we've been working with the October 1 grand opening. I know that the church has a variety of for first Sundays, last Sundays, but you can find that on their card back on the table as far as soft worship services that are happening in the basement and throughout the building, but we're aiming for October 1. So our first show of a season will be in a different location, and then our second show, The Prom, the musical, will be opening here, so that'll kick off our time here in November, and Jeff's Ixion is going to open their first show in October, right after October 1, yeah.
Do you have any writers' workshops, that kind of thing planned?
We should talk about that.
So with our rather itinerant nature the last year and a half or so, we've had our Ixion Wheels writer group kind of on hold, but we do hope to get that back up and running as stage one evolves, as there's a coffee space for folks to maybe as the writers to meet and talk. We're having our writers meet once a month because that's the other thing is we want to make sure we get Lansing voices as well.
I think your question about workshops was probably aimed at the arts community, but I do want to say that we've been in conversation with the Small Business Development Center to host workshops or seminars on starting food businesses, and then to be able to say, and here's a kitchen that you can do it in.
Can confirm, it's a good kitchen.
Yes.
With the construction renovation, will there be elevator access to this floor?
Yeah, the elevator is right behind you. So, and that does get you from the basement up to here, and vice versa. Yeah. It's been used today and it worked.
All right, any last questions? Yes, Rose.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you to all 5 of you for thinking of community first. That's something that this place desperately needs. And I know that me personally and many people like me will take as much advantage of this as you offer. So thank you all for making that job number 1.
Let's do a final round of applause. So with that, we are going to have a tour of the space that Pastor Tom is going to be taking everyone on. So I'll just ask that you go ahead and make your way in. I'll leave the rest of the speakers up here for any members of the media that might want to get a couple one-off interviews. But otherwise, thank you for coming. Do check out the sweet treats that are here from Honey Bun Bakery, and we hope to see you at our events.